Welcome back to Petty Astrology. I'm your host, Kaycee Felton-Lui. We're in the astrological new year. That started on the equinox, which was March 20th, and I know most of us associate a new year with January, but that's just the calendar. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, the beginning of spring is the new year, and it's also the start of Aries season, so things probably feel very active right now, relentless even. There's a lot going on, and I understand if you're tired, but there is so much to do. It's a new chapter, and what we do this year is incredibly important in shaping what happens for the rest of Pluto in Aquarius. That started back in 2023 and goes until 2044. We're talking changing systems and a changing world. And as you can see, it's messy. We're at the early stages, which is why we've got to talk. My ongoing Pluto in Aquarius series has been about showing you some of the major elements of this incredibly transformative period of time. And we've been dancing around one particular issue. But kind of like this topic, it's always been lurking in the background. And now, it's time to bring it to light. Today on the podcast, Pluto in Aquarius, surveillance. If you've ever felt like someone's watching you, it may be that they are. See, big tech and our governments have been keeping tabs on us for far longer than many of us would like to think. And it's not just because we're so cute and funny and our FBI guy is in love with us. No. Those are cute memes, but they point to something much more sinister, especially as fascism rises around the world. Pluto is a planet that speaks to what lies beneath. It has a tendency to reveal. And while it's in the sign of Aquarius, which represents humanity as well as technology, we're seeing just how much power and control big tech and our governments are willing to exercise over us, and for reasons that should shake us all out of complacency. Of course, surveillance didn't start with Pluto in Aquarius, but now that we're here, we can see much more clearly how ever-present it has become and how dangerous. In 2025, reports of ICE scanning people's faces with cell phones surfaced, and soon after, federal agents were even bragging that they were using that to enter protesters' faces into a database. We now know that ICE has used an app called Mobile Fortify more than 100,000 times at the moment of this recording. Mobile Fortify can scan someone's face, regardless of citizenship, and create a profile of them using various federal and state databases. They also have access to technology that allows them to surveil entire neighborhoods at once. These tools have been so effective that the number of people in ICE detention centers has risen to its highest number in the agency's relatively short history. AI is making the kind of data collection that enables this kind of mass surveillance much more efficient, because it's very hard to do all of this sifting and sorting with human labor. But as I said in my episode, Pluto in Aquarius AI, artificial intelligence applications are often wrong. Take, for example, the grandmother from Tennessee who was arrested as a fugitive and jailed for 6 months after AI identified her as a suspect in a bank fraud case in North Dakota, a state this woman had never been to. While babysitting her grandkids, she was arrested at gunpoint and held without bail because they wrongly believed that she was on the run. According to this woman and court documents, there was little to no verification of the AI analysis. Once she was able to prove her innocence with bank documents, that showed she was nowhere near North Dakota when the alleged crime had happened, police released her from jail with no way to return to her home state, on Christmas Eve, no less. And this is just one story that we know of. Imagine how many people have no idea they're in whatever databases these tools are drawing from. Imagine how many people this is happening to that we're not hearing about. Now that many homes have so-called smart devices and doorbell cameras, we can clearly see the foundation for the rise in surveillance culture that has long been laid. Back in 2016, police issued a warrant to Amazon for evidence in a murder investigation, evidence that had been unknowingly collected by Amazon's popular voice assistant, Alexa. This raised the conversation. Are our tech devices listening to and recording us without our knowledge? The answer to that question, as it turned out, is yes. The Guardian called Pegasus, a spyware developed by an Israeli cyber intelligence firm with deep ties to the Israeli military, quote, perhaps the most powerful piece of spyware ever developed. This software can be installed onto a target's phone and collect encrypted and unencrypted messages, photos, passwords, data, and searches, as well as taking control of a device's camera and microphone. This allows whoever is using Pegasus to track a person's every move, every detail of their communications. And with the power of AI, now they have a way to do it faster than ever. If that doesn't sound like a big deal to you, it should. As of November 2025, the spyware company, NSO Group, is headed by Donald Trump's former U.S. ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, and has been accused of playing a role in a variety of human rights violations around the world. These include, but are not limited to, the targeting of investigators, activists, journalists, and their associates, as alleged in the 2018 case of the murder of Saudi columnist Jamal Khashoggi. Pegasus is also reportedly used against the population of Palestine, where the Israeli military is able to monitor and manipulate the population of Gaza like caged animals, which is probably a generous description for the constant abuse, genocide, and war crimes happening there. The Pegasus technology has been purchased by the FBI and many governments all around the world, regardless of the ethics they may or may not employ while using this tech. Given the company's obvious ties to the US government and the actions of our current regime, I don't think you have to be very creative to see where all this is going. Aside from the phones that most people around the world carry with them at all times, cities around the United States have allowed Flock, an American company that weaponizes AI, to surveil cities all around the country. Flock markets itself as the future of public safety, but not only is footage from Flock cameras used by police, but reportedly federal authorities have also accessed the footage to track and identify targets of immigration enforcement. The company says that they've banned federal agents from some of their tools in 2025, but I have to say, with the way that things are going, I don't think I believe them. At minimum, we should be skeptical, if not outright opposed to these companies that are willing to sell every piece of privacy we thought we had. They're building a world where we are constantly under observation and ready targets of the government, its agents, and whoever has the skills to hack this tech. Despite all of that, the US government and governments around the world are currently vying for even more detail about what we're doing online. In the US, the so-called Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA, and age bans are being pushed to gatekeep information, especially from young people. They say it's to protect children, because that sounds a lot more noble than requiring adult internet users to upload IDs, biometric data, or other information so that governments and companies can track your every move online. These are just some of the ways surveillance has been woven into every aspect of our existence. I say all of this not to scare you, but to let you know what we're up against and encourage you to be thoughtful about your relationship with technology. We have to fight for our liberation on all fronts, and the corporate tech space has emerged at the forefront of what we're fighting against. But what do we do in the face of all of this surveillance? First of all, we need to be more careful with our data. The apps we put on our phones, what we install on our computers, all of it. Don't make it easy for them. Many free apps track and sell user data without advertising that. Makes sense, right? Free products that definitely cost money and labor to produce, many of them make money on the data they harvest, whether it's hawking your information for those targeted ads that always seem to know what you're looking for, or just outright selling your information. Ads are often their biggest source of revenue, but other times they'll just straight up sell it to governments or to entities that are willing and able to pay. Companies like Google, Apple, and Meta have increasingly shared user data with the US government at the government's request, under the vague need for, quote, national security, and oftentimes without any legal oversight from a judge. These companies will remind you that they are simply complying with the law. But also remember, these companies and apps are going to try to make it sound good, to give them the most access. Recently, Tinder made headlines for their plans to use AI to scan users' camera rolls and use the information it finds to determine preferable matches. But think about it. They want their AI to scrape whatever they can find in your camera roll. And do you really trust these profit-centered companies with your most intimate details? Even if they claim that it might lead to the love of your life, or at least the best lay of your life. Make sure you go through your apps. Make sure you know what they have access to. If given the option, give them as little as possible. And consider getting the worst offenders off your phone. We also need to treat our tech like it's watching us, because it is. Like I said, most of us are carrying around one of the best spy devices ever in existence, and we're doing it willingly because we've become so reliant on our cell phones. If our devices are such a big part of our lives, we need to remember that they are microphones, they are cameras, and they are fully capable of being used against us. It is incredibly important to know that there is no silver bullet or magical VPN or email provider that is going to make you totally safe. If you don't want your device observing something that you may be saying or doing, it should not be involved whatsoever. That brings me to OPSEC, or operational security. This is a must for Pluto and Aquarius. This means establishing practices and risk management with your devices to prevent important or potentially incriminating information from falling into the wrong hands. We need to learn alternate ways of communicating and sharing information, their pros and their risks, and act accordingly. No, I don't think we should get rid of our technology. It is incredibly useful and necessary in the Pluto and Aquarius era. But we cannot forget that these powerful tools are double-edged swords. Some information and activities are simply incompatible with a lot of the devices that we take for granted these days. Finally, we need to fight surveillance culture. Not only the laws, companies, and institutions weaponizing it, but also a culture that says every home needs a Ring doorbell and that we're safer if Big Brother is breathing down our necks. Surveillance culture has become so common that most people do it to themselves and their loved ones willingly, for the sake of convenience. We cannot be lulled by the illusion of simplicity, because it really isn't making our lives simpler if it's actually putting us more in the crosshairs than maybe we've ever been. It starts with conversations like this, making changes to how we relate to our technology and ultimately to each other. I'm not telling you to ditch your tech completely because it is an incredibly powerful tool. It's probably how you found me, and it can be an amazing way to learn and form community. But if we want the future to be better than what feels like a hellscape right now, we have to be highly aware of how it's being used against us and let that shape our behavior as we build a better future together. If you missed my Pluto and Aquarius episode on AI, don't worry, it is still waiting for you in the archives, as well as the rest of my Pluto and Aquarius series so far. I'll put the link in the show notes. Speaking of petty astrology episodes, for my sponsors, it is the last chance to vote in our next bonus episode over in Patreon. You don't want to miss that one. This time we've got some pop culture options, Michael B. Jordan and Timothée Chalamet if you're into the Oscar buzz. And on the political side of things, we've got the astrology of Tucker Carlson, as well as the astrology of the war on Iran, because of course, these are taking up a lot of air in the room right now. Don't forget, you can sponsor this podcast for as little as $5 a month, and you get access to our entire library of bonus episodes, and you get to vote on future episodes. Isn't that awesome? Not to mention sticking it to the man by supporting independent artists directly. Yeah, that's me. That's what I'm doing here. Thank you, sponsors, for paying me for my work. I could not do this without you. And it's just so nice to be part of a community that actually gives a shit. We need that more than ever. Speaking of giving a shit, don't forget to check out badinternetbills.com if you are here in the United States. This explains the many laws that our legislators are trying to pass under the guise of protecting us, but actually they're making the internet less free. They also have talking points so you can contact your representatives and let them know that these bills suck. If you'd like to discuss more of what I talked about here today, don't forget we've got Petty Astrology Live every Thursday over on Twitch and YouTube. This is where I tend to get into more of the nitty-gritty of current events and the relationship to astrology, and it's great to be part of a conversation and have a live dialogue with my audience. If you can't make it live, sponsors of this podcast always get the replay. Just another great reason to support my work. That's it for this week's episode. Tune in on Patreon for even more petty astrology. This episode was written, edited, and produced by me, Kaycee Felton-Lui. It was also produced by Dork and Tony Penne. The podcast art is by Max Swanson. The music is by Paul Schneider. This episode was made possible by my sponsors over on Patreon.